Yes, yes. Well done. Thank you.
It's open. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Secretary General.
I hope this Vesak Day will bring us more peace worldwide.
Of course.
It will be very much in line with what it means and what it represents.
That's what we are praying for too, Excellency. Good morning.
Good morning.
Ini upat ni hari lebih nanti ni sama ni kedagangan ada mana lagi ni.
Good morning, Venerable monks, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Before we begin, I kindly ask all participants to mute your microphone throughout the entire event, and only unmute when taking the floor. I believe we are ready to begin. Your Excellency, Shanuga Seneviratne, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Sri Lanka to the United Nations. The floor is yours, Madam.
With the permission of the most venerable members of the Mahasangha, Honorable Dinesh Gunawardena, Minister of Foreign Relations of Sri Lanka, Your Excellency Professor Tijani Muhammad Bande, President of the 74th Session of the General Assembly, Your Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, co-host Your Excellency Vitava Srivihoc, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Thailand, Excellencies, friends. It is with great pleasure that Ambassador Vitavas and I extend a warm welcome to this belated observance of the International Day of Vesak. This year, we celebrate virtually, that too not in May, but 2 months after, due to the ongoing pandemic. Rescheduling to July also has special significance, as it was on the full moon day of this month that the Buddha preached his first sermon. Excellencies, friends, it is precisely in these times of darkness that the teachings of the Buddha become a source of solace, just as it did for the people of the city of Visala when famine and pestilence prevailed. Chanting excerpts of the Ratana Sutta today, together with blessings, I'm confident will make us resilient to face the present obstacles. I'm grateful to the most venerable monks for their sermons and recitations on this hallowed occasion. I also extend our profound thanks to the Honorable Minister, their Excellencies, the President of the General Assembly, and the Secretary General of the UN for their gracious participation. Excellencies, friends, it is pertinent to recall that it was the enlightened initiative of the late Foreign Minister of Sri Lanka, Honorable Lakshman Kadiragama, guided by the late Most Venerable Kurunagoda Piyatissa from New York, that in 1999 secured the designation of the UN International Day of Vesak. 2 decades later, it is apt to reflect on the significance and timeless relevance of the teachings of the Buddha on the unprecedented contemporary challenges which have brought ceaseless suffering to mankind. The world continues to be confronted by violent conflicts, poverty, climate change, inequality, to name a few. Unfortunately, the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic have further exacerbated these predicaments, tearing the global socio-economic fabric asunder. The arising repercussions threaten to jeopardize our unity and erode the very foundation of multilateralism. Regrettably, this phenomenon continues and needs to be arrested. Excellencies, friends, As we seek remedy for these complex issues, we are reminded of the philosophy of the Buddha, where the three afflictive emotions of greed, hatred, and delusion being the root causes of all suffering. Introspectively, they are embedded in the conditioning of our personalities, which undoubtedly would negatively impinge on the conduct of domestic policy and international affairs, culminating in a global society that is fraught with challenges and suffering. The Buddha's teachings of loving kindness, compassion, shared joy, and equanimity are reflected in the UN Charter, with member states pledging to practice tolerance and living together in peace with one another as good neighbors, maintaining international peace and security, while refraining from armed force and promoting economic and social advancement of all peoples. The Buddhist doctrine, grounded on the principle of the fundamental equality of all, regardless of the status of circumstances, also has resonance in the UN Charter, where all states enjoy sovereign equality and inclusivity. Excellencies, friends, in this context, the Buddha's erudite stanza that, and I quote, hatred does not cease through hatred at any time, but through love, and this being an unalterable law, close quotes, holds true even today, 2,600 years later. On this sacred occasion, let us resolve to build in a spirit of cooperation, compassion, and equality a peaceful and prosperous world for all. May the blessings of the Triple Gem be with you. Thank you. I wish now to invite my co-host, His Excellency Vittavasri Vihok, Permanent Representative of Thailand to the United Nations, to deliver his opening remarks. Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you, Ambassador. Venerable monks, President of the General Assembly, Secretary General of the United Nations, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, please let me warmly welcome all of you to the belated celebration of the International Day of Vesak 2020, the day of the birth, enlightenment, and passing of Lord Buddha. It is my great honor and pleasure to co-host this auspicious occasion with Ambassador Chenuka and the Sri Lankan mission. This year, due to the ongoing COVID pandemic, we were unfortunately unable to hold our event as per usual at the General Assembly Hall in May for the safety of all participants, in line with the relevant medical guidance. Therefore, I wish to express our high reverence and gratitude to the venerable monks from different Buddhist communities and our appreciation to our Buddhist and non-Buddhist friends who have gathered here with us today on this virtual platform to commemorate and reflect upon the teachings of Lord Buddha during this unprecedented time. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the current world situation has given time for us to reflect back on ourselves. The virus does not discriminate. It can affect anybody. We need global solidarity and harmony to overcome this borderless challenge. But on the contrary, every day we see news from all over the world displaying discrimination, hate, and violence. More so than ever, we must foster compassion, love, tolerance, and respect, which Buddhists call metta and karuna, among our brother and sister of all faiths, cultures, and race, to uphold the inherent rights and dignity of all human beings and to leave no one behind. I also believe that Buddhist teachings on awareness, resilience, and inner peace of the mind or sati are important guiding lights we can use against any external shocks and challenges, including this pandemic. Buddhism teaches us that there are ups and downs in life, and we cannot control the world. On the contrary, we have to find a sustainable solution from within to look at happening with mindfulness, not clouded with fear, anxiety, and anger, and to use it as a learning experience to recover better and be prepared for other tests we may face in the future. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, here at the UN, we must live up to our responsibilities to promote greater harmony, peace, and sustainable development in the world, the United Nations has to walk the talk and must walk together towards the common goals and commitments of the betterment of humanity based on principles such as compassion and love for all people. I hope that today's event can serve as a reminder for us all, including our partners and friends outside of the United Nations, that it depends upon all of us and we must not stop working towards our common goal with a determined and calm mind. Distinguished participants, to begin our event today, I have the honor and pleasure to invite His Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, to deliver a message on this auspicious commemoration. Although he can only stay for the opening segment of the event, we sincerely appreciate him for joining in person today. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Excellencies, dear friends, and distinguished guests. As the distinguished permanent representatives have said, we were originally meant to gather on May the 7th, the date of this year's Vesak Day, which marks the birth, enlightenment, and passing of Lord Buddha. The COVID-19 pandemic forced us to postpone that gathering. So today, I thank the government of Sri Lanka and Thailand for bringing us together, and I extend a warm welcome to all who are joining this virtual event. In any year, this observance is sacred to millions of Buddhists around the world. This year, the Buddha's teachings can also help remind us all of the unity we need to meet the COVID challenge. As one notable sutra states, and I quote, "Because all living beings are subject to illness, I am ill as well." End of quote. This timeless message of solidarity and service to others is more important than ever. It is only by combining our energies and expertise that we can address the tremendous fragilities in our world today. Only through international cooperation will we ease the economic and social consequences of the crisis, which are pervasive but place particular burden on the world's most vulnerable people and countries. And it is only by strengthening bonds across society that we will recover better and build a healthier, more inclusive, sustainable, resilient, and equitable world. This sense of shared fate and collective compassion is both the spirit of the Buddha and the animating force of the Charter of the United Nations, which just marked its own 75th birthday. As we recognize this enduring wisdom, let us act in that spirit in answering the colossal test that people and planet face today. Thank you.
I thank His Excellency, the Secretary General, for his important remark and for joining us here in person today. I now have the honor and pleasure to invite His Excellency, Mr. Tijani Mohammad Bande, President of the 74th session of the General Assembly, to address us on this occasion. Excellencies, the floor is yours.
Mr. Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like first to thank the permanent missions of Sri Lanka and Thailand for giving us the opportunity today to virtually commemorate the International Day of Vesak. I also wish to extend my warm greetings to all Buddhist communities following this event. I wish you all a solemn and peaceful remembrance of the birth, the enlightenment, and the passing away of Gautama Buddha. We come together to acknowledge and celebrate the contribution of Buddhism to the spiritual well-being of all of us, which has been going on for 2.5 millennia. The observance of Vesak Day, which takes place in the month of May, had to be postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This pandemic is putting the world under enormous stress and affecting everyone's life. Many have lost loved ones, while communities and nations struggle to cope with the socio-economic effects of the pandemic. We are facing a global health crisis unlike any other in the 75-year history of the United Nations, and it affects us all. In times of great anxiety, faith can be a significant source of comfort and community resilience. Buddhist teachings and guided practices, such as give even if you have a little, can be a balm for those grappling with the pandemic today. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, may this year's Vesak Day commemoration remind us all to uphold the values of kindness, compassion, and empathy. In today's interconnected and multifaceted world, differences and diversity, when well managed, enrich societies both spiritually and materially. May this commemoration serve as occasion to remind us all of the importance of tolerance, mutual respect, and understanding that are enshrined in the Buddhist teachings. These are also among the values that the United Nations has been promoting and advancing throughout the world. I believe that by promoting these values, we will enthrone peace and prosperity in the world. I thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for your presence amidst a busy schedule, which is a demonstration of your recognition of the importance and relevance of the Buddhist philosophy in overcoming contemporary global challenges. Thank you. In recognition of the 20th anniversary of the commemoration of the International Day of Vesak, initiated by the late Honorable Lakshman Kadiragama, Honorable Dinesh Gunawardena, the present Minister of Foreign Relations of Sri Lanka, counting over 45 years of service to the people, having aligned his political career with the tenets of the Buddhist philosophy, has honored this occasion with the keynote message.
Venerable Sangha, respected religious dignitaries, His Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Tijani Mohammed Bande, President of the General Assembly, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Ayubowang, I join you from Sri Lanka today to celebrate thrice blessed day of Vesak and also to mark the 20th anniversary of the international recognition of the Day of Vesak by the United Nations. Considering the unfortunate times the world is going through, troubled by the global pandemic of COVID-19, we are yet fortunate to celebrate this milestone almost 2 months after the Day of Vesak, thanks to technology. I thank the United Nations and the co-hosts, the permanent missions of Thailand and Sri Lanka in New York for your facilitation and coordination, and Venerable Mahasangha, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, for joining this commemoration of great significance and relevance. The Vesak full moon day, the day of considered most sacred to a fifth of the world population around the world, is the day that marks the birth, attainment of enlightenment, and the passing away of Gautama the Buddha, the enlightened one. I also take this opportunity to pay tribute to late Honorable Lakshman Kadiragama, the then Minister of Foreign Affairs of Sri Lanka, for his leading role in giving international recognition to the Day of Vesak at the United Nations headquarters and other United Nations offices. Sri Lanka took this initiative in 1999 at the 54th session of the UN General Assembly and proposed to the General Assembly to honor the Buddha by declaring Vesak be observed as a special day by the United Nations. As in the city of Visala in India, which was devastated by disease and famine at the time of Buddha, the COVID-19 pandemic has also brought about a number of other misfortunes with it, catastrophic health impacts, accompanying humanitarian crisis, devastation of economies, and social and psychological tensions, among others. In these times, Lord Buddha's teachings could guide us through this haze of uncertainty towards light. The practice of four virtues, metta, contemplations on loving kindness, mudita, compassion, karuna, sympathetic joy, upeka, equanimity, could ease sufferings of mankind and could also strengthen by generating trust and understanding. Buddha's teachings expounding a solution for suffering of all beings against the backdrop of contemporary beliefs was birth of the Buddha Dhamma. The Dhamma is not only a religion or a belief system but also a philosophy and a way of living and living being throughout the world to realize the true nature of all things. It is a path of knowledge, for its goal is reached with the destruction of ignorance, ignorance of the true nature and reality of existence, characterized, among others, by the futility of the egoistic notion. After 2,600 years, it is still sought for its intrinsic wisdom and values. It continues to provide solace, comfort, tranquility, and ensure peace of mind to many in our troubled modern world. The Buddha stresses a human being's ability to improve oneself morally and spiritually, as the human being is the most master of one's destiny and even the final goal of redemption, liberation, salvation, or emancipation is through progressive path of self-cultivation. The Buddha visited Sri Lanka on 3 occasions and to 16 different sacred places. The Buddha Sasana of the order was established in Sri Lanka over 2,300 years ago by Arahat Mahinda Mahathera on the guidance of his father Emperor Asoka, and to date Sri Lanka houses Buddha's teachings in the most pristine form. It is heartening to see that the day of Vesak being celebrated at the United Nations headquarters and its offices around the world annually since the UN resolution was adopted in year 2000. Even this year, the tradition remains unbroken through the virtual celebration with the same veneration and mindfulness. On behalf of the government of Sri Lanka, I convey my deep gratitude to the delegations of the member states who made the observance of the day of Vesak at the United Nations a reality. I wish all of you good health, joy and mindfulness on all living beings, the nature in its true sense, and the living conditions. With the blessings of the Triple Gem, may I conclude quoting the words of Lord Buddha, Siyalu Sattvayo Nidukvetva, Nirogivetva, Suapatvetva. May all beings be safe. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be well and happy.
I thank Honorable Minister of Foreign Relations of Sri Lanka for his insightful message. Distinguished participants, on this auspicious day of celebrating the International Day of Vesak, allow me to humbly request the Venerable Mahasangha to conduct the observances according to the Theravada tradition, followed by the invocation of blessings according to Mahayana tradition. Namaskar, Venerable Mahasangha.
Friends, now we monks are going to bless you. We are wishing all of you, by the power of Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, may you be well, happy and peace. Having that aspiration, please listen to the chanting. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Yang kinci tang idva purang va sabye suvayang ratanang panitang nano samang ati tathāgatena idam dibuddhe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu kayang vidagang amatang panitang yadadya Sakyamuni samarito natena dhammena samarthi kinci dhamme dhamme ratanang panitam etena saccena suvatti hotu ye pubbalatta sathang pasatta cattari etani mukani honti te dakhineya sugatassa savakaye te sudinnaani mahapalani dhamme sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu etena sacca vajjena sabba dukkhang vinassatu etena sacca vajjena sabba bhayang vinassatu etena sacca vajjena sabba rogo vinassatu bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkhantu sabba devata sabba buddhanuvadena sada sotti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkhantu sabba devata sabba dhammanuvadena sada sotti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkhantu sabba devata sabba sanghanuvadena sada sotti bhavantu te dukkhappattāca nidukkhappayapattāca nibbāyāsokappattāca nisokā hontu sabbe nibbānino. Let those who are in misery be free from misery. Let those who are in fear, agony, and insecurity be free from fear, agony, and insecurity. Let those who are in sorrow be free from sorrow, and may all living beings be well, happy, and peace. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
We are going to offer the Mahayana chanting from Chinese, Korean, and Japanese tradition.
大家好，我叫明宇，来自中国，现在住在纽约。
안녕하십니까. 저는 지광 스님입니다. 저는 한국 스님입니다.
こんにちは、中垣です。日本の仏教を代表して今日は、ご一緒させていただきます。Thank you. Makhvahanya haramita shingyo Guanzi Bosa Haramita Jitsu Happy Vesak Day.
I thank the Venerable Mahasangha for their blessing. Sadhu. I now respectfully invite Venerable Dr. Praanin Sakaya, Deputy Rector of the Mahamongkut Buddhist University, Thailand, to conduct a sermon through a video message on this sacred occasion.
Venerables, Your Excellencies, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm very honored to be with you here today on this virtual belated commemoration of the International Day of Vesak 2020 at this August gathering at the United Nations. Many thanks to His Excellencies, ambassadors, and permanent delegations of Thailand and Sri Lanka to the United Nations for putting their effort together to organize this Vesak commemoration and invited me to say a few words. The last full moon of May was the International Day of Vesak 2020. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 global pandemic stopped all ceremonies and commemorations. The heart of Buddhism is the triple gem. They are the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The significance of the International Day of Vesak is a day we dedicate ourselves for the heart of Buddhism itself. The first triple gem is the Buddha. Buddha's birth on the human planet not only proclaimed the independence of humanity from the power of God, but also guaranteed the state of spiritual awakening for everyone. Therefore, the Buddha's birth not only proved him to be a human, but also the ultimate achievement a human can achieve, that is, nirvana. The second triple gem is the Dharma. Similarly, the second important event of the Vesak Day is the enlightenment of the Buddha. The enlightenment transformed Prince Siddhartha to the Buddha. It is the Dharma that transformed him to be the Buddha. The Buddha also guaranteed to everyone that proper realization of Dharma will certainly lead to the enlightenment, the unsurpassed liberation from being a slave to one's craving, hatred, and illusion. Therefore, the Dharma stands here for the enlightenment itself. Moreover, Dharma etymologically means sustainability. if we have to translate the United Nations term sustainable development to ancient Sanskrit or Pali language of Buddhism, it would be exactly a Dharma chakra. The root tenor of sustain in Latin happened to be the same root in Sanskrit or Pali that is the dra of Dharma. Both terms means uphold. Chakra etymologically means forwarding with a firm ground, which is the exact meaning of the prefix sas in Latin. Therefore, a Buddhist term Dhammachakra means sustainable development in the modern sense. The development of creating sustainable peace and happiness on this planet. Importantly, the Buddha emphasizes on the practice of sustainable development, that is, pravatana, not mere as an ideology. The first sermon of the Buddha accordingly named Dhammachakra Pavatana, which translates as sustainable development in action. Therefore, I suggest that the United Nations should consider announcing the International Day of Vesak also as the Sustainable Development Day, because the essence of Buddhist teachings itself is teaching about achieving sustainability of humans and planet regardless of religions, races, languages, and nationalities. The third triple gem is the Sangha. Sangha is a community. The Sangha's role is unsurpassed because Sangha is the witness of the Buddha's enlightenment. Without Sangha and their practices, we wouldn't know the Buddha's enlightenment is true and achievable. Therefore, Sangha embodies the teachings in action for all to see as an example. The third Vesak event was the Buddha's death. His last teaching was an encouragement for a mindful living in the community. Since then, the history of Buddhism shifts from Buddha to the Sangha, the community, as an embodiment of the Dharma in action, or sustainable development in action. The death of the Buddha transcends his teaching to the community. The Sangha signifies the community of sustainable development itself. In fact, the message of Vesak matches with the United Nations 2030 Agenda for the SDGs, which the late King Bhumibol Adulyadej of Thailand presented it as a sufficiency economic philosophy, or the SEP. The SEP is a key to the SDGs. In practice, the SEP manifests itself through the middle path consists of speech, strategy, sustenance, effort, exactness, engrossment, penetration, and perceptions. The middle path leads us to achieve the SDGs. The Vesak is the day the Buddha first enlightened the very core of sustainable development. The COVID-19 global pandemic freaked out people's health, business, lifestyle, and their future as a whole. The global pandemic even forced us to rethink about the 17 SDGs. Originally, for sustainable development to be achieved, it is crucial to harmonize three interconnected core elements: economic growth, social inclusion, and the environmental protection. The recent devastating effect on health and wealth raises questions on the SDGs. Nowhere in the targets of the SDGs mentions the global pandemic on such a scale as we are facing at the moment. The damage created by COVID-19 pandemic is worse than what we expected from any of the economic, social, and environmental declines. Suddenly, the COVID-19 pandemic creates a dilemma between health and wealth. The SDG needs to expand security of health as well as wealth. To face the current dilemma, we have to rephrase the definition of health, which is defined by the WHO as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Adding on to the WHO definition, Buddhism defines health even broader as well-being of health, mind, social, and spiritual. Accordingly, the United Nations needs to reconsider additional aspects of mental and spiritual well-being, which are missing out from the SDGs. Last but not least, happy birthday, Buddha, the presenter of the SDGs. Happy birthday, Dharma, the principle of the SDGs. And happy birthday, Sangha, the actors of the SDGs, the very cause which bring us here together in happiness to commemorate the International Day of Vesak. Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable Dr. Pra Anin Sakaya, for such pertinent and relevant sermon. I now turn the floor to Ambassador Chenuka for conduct the rest of our event. The floor is yours, Ambassador.
Thank you, Excellency. I now invite with reverence Venerable Dr. Bellamvilla Dharmaratanan Nayakathero from Bellamvilla Raja Mahavihara in Sri Lanka to deliver a sermon on this auspicious occasion.
Venerable Mahasangha, respected religious dignitaries, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the day of Vesak, also known as Buddha Jayanti and Buddha Purnima, in the day marking the birth, enlightenment and passing away of the Lord Buddha, occurred on the full moon day of May. Today, in the month of July, we have gathered this online platform to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the Declaration of Vesak as a special day at the United Nations by adopting the United Nations resolution. International recognition of the Day of Vesak in 1999, which led to the first commemoration of Vesak at the UN in the year 2000. The effort of the UN and the co-host, the permanent missions of Thailand and Sri Lanka in New York to arrange this virtual commemoration are commendable. Given the circumstances faced by the world due to the COVID-19, when we commemorate the historic milestone of the 20th anniversary of the international recognition of Vesak by the United Nations, the initiation and the efforts of everyone involved in continuing the practice of celebrating the Day of Vesak at the UN headquarters and offices around the globe since the year 2000 up to date should also be appreciated. I also recall the leading role of late Honorable Lakshman Kajragama, the then Minister of Foreign Affairs of Sri Lanka, in giving international recognition to the Day of Vesak at the United Nations. Without being a Buddhist by birth, he was the pioneer who harnessed the support of the fellow member states to support Sri Lanka to have the resolution adopted in the General Assembly. Lord Buddha's teaching are themselves see no boundaries and accommodate no discriminations. After 6 years of rigorous search, Prince Siddhartha discovered the path to end the suffering that all the living beings go through. It is the state of nirvana or enlightenment, which complete spiritual freedom, a state that can be realized right here and now, when in the midst of this imperfect world. It is the going out of the flames of greed, hatred, and delusion. Thereafter, the foremost goal of Buddha or the enlightened one was to share this knowledge and the path to supreme bliss of nirvana with all beings, with no restrictions or boundaries. This was a clear deviant from the contemporary beliefs and practices at the time, which was heavily caste-based in a society divided along social status, gender, racial, and ethnic lines, among others. Lord Buddha's teachings brought about equal opportunities to men and women, Brahmins and outcasts, and the rich and the poor alike, to pursue the path of enlightenment. As per the Buddha's teaching, everything in existence is impermanent, subject to aging, decay, and death. Even life in the heavens, though long and blissful, does not last forever. So is all the suffering and difficulties that we go through. The COVID-19 and the distress and tension generated and the sufferings that people across the world go through will also not last forever. In the meantime, the Buddhist way of living could guide you through to face and tolerate the current circumstances. One can harness the opportunities in the given circumstances to develop spiritual resilience, including through meditation, exploring the inner strength. Let us make it also the opportune moment to practice boundless compassion by supporting fellow human beings affected by the current global crisis in their hour of need. Sabbitiyo vivajjantu, sabbarogo vinassatu, mate bhavatvantarayo, sukhi diga yuko bhava. May all fears come to an end. May all the diseases be healed. May all adversities perish. May you be happy and live long.
Thank you, Venerable Mahanayaka Thera, for the sagacious discourse. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed with statements by the participating member states. Prince Siddhartha, who attained enlightenment as the Buddha, revered as the founder of the world religion of Buddhism, was a venerated son of India. It is our honor to have His Excellency, Mr. Tirunelveli Srinivasamurthy Tirumurthy, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of India, to deliver a statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Most venerable monks, excellencies, distinguished colleagues and friends, it is an honor to join all of you in commemorating the International Day of Vesak here in New York. I thank my esteemed colleagues, the permanent representatives of Sri Lanka and Thailand, for their wonderful initiative in bringing us together to celebrate this annual event in New York. At a time when COVID-19 has brought untold sufferings into our lives, we now, more than any time else, should remember the four noble truths of Buddhism, which teach us to bring the cycle of dukkha or suffering to an end. As the Buddha said, no one saves us but ourselves. While today's Vesak celebrations may have been delayed due to the pandemic, it is never too late to embrace the Buddhist values of compassion, service to humanity, peace and non-violence, equanimity and equality, and the middle way practiced for 2,600 years. These values, one way or another, find or should find resonance in the Charter and the work of the United Nations in a world where forces dividing us are numerous. As the Buddha said, in the sky, there is no distinction of east and west. It is a privilege to celebrate this day with my UN family and represent India, the birthplace of Buddhism, a country where the teachings of the Buddha have deeply influenced our everyday lives and spiritual values. At a personal level, I consider myself blessed that in my career in diplomacy, I have been able to oversee the making and the gifting by India of the replica of the Buddha of Sarnath to Sri Lanka, and also assist in erecting the replica of the 1st century Torana Gate of Sanchi Stupa in Malaysia, and in India's renovation of priceless Buddhist heritage sites in many parts of the world. Even as the wheel of Dharma turns in Buddhism, the wheel of goodness, peace, and prosperity should turn in today's world. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for your inspiring statement. Nepal being Prince Siddhartha's land of birth, I'm pleased to invite His Excellency Mr. Amrit Bahadur Rai, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Nepal, to speak.
Thank you, Venerable Mahasanghas and monks, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank the Permanent Mission of Sri Lanka and Thailand for organizing this virtual commemorative event. Prince Siddhartha Gautam was born in 623 BC in Lumbini as a son of King Suddhodana and Queen Maya Devi in the kingdom of Sakyas, presently located in the southern Nepal. But he left the luxury of palace at his age of 29 and turned into Gautama Buddha, means enlightened one, after years of devotion and deep meditation. He taught the world that human sufferings can be overcome through love, compassion, peace, nonviolence, and forgiveness. When Buddha says, Appo Dipo Bhava, which means be a lamp unto yourself, he asks us to search for the answers to our sufferings in our innermost sanctum of being. It is about rediscovery of humanity through self-awareness to attain harmonious society and peaceful coexistence and universal fraternity. The ideals of Buddhism transcend time and space. They are relevant more than ever as the antithesis to the silo mentality and divisive mindset that are increasingly finding space in this present-day world. And against this backdrop of human sufferings, from poverty to pandemics, hatred, conflict, and extremism, the mosaic of Nepali culture has tremendous imprint of Buddhism. It has provided us with values and identity. Lumbini is a treasure land of historical, religious, cultural, and archaeological significance, and is increasingly becoming a center of attraction for tourists, pilgrims, and scholars from around the world. The government of Nepal is fully committed to developing and preserving Lumbini's prominence and purity and sanctity as the fountain of world peace. Let us make resolve to make this world harmonious and peaceful. I thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for your educative expose. May I now invite Her Excellency Rabab Fatima, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Bangladesh, to deliver her statement.
I thank you, Madam Chair. Most venerable monks, Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to join the virtual celebration of the International Day of Vesak 2020. Happy belated Vesak Day. I sincerely thank my good friends, the permanent representatives of Sri Lanka and Thailand, for bringing us together in spite of the current situation. This year, due to the pandemic, the day was observed in a different manner at home. And we are grateful to you, my friends, for arranging this celebration today for us. Buddhism in Bangladesh has a long and glorious history dating back to the 7th century AD. It has had a profound influence on the lives of our people. We are proud to host some of the most revered Buddhist monasteries in the world. Bangladesh prides itself in promoting religious pluralism and harmony. It is our constitutional obligation to ensure equal status and right in the practice of all religions, including Buddhism, which is the third largest religion practiced in the country. Vesak Day in Bangladesh is popularly known as Buddha Purnima. Every year, the day is observed throughout the country with due solemnity, ritual, and religious fervor. It is no longer an event for Buddhists alone, rather a festival for people of all faiths, and has become an integral part of our culture. That spirit is encapsulated in an oft-quoted statement by my Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Religion is one's own, but festivals are for everyone. And it is that same spirit that brings us here today. The teachings of Lord Buddha have more relevance than ever as we seek spiritual solace and healing from the anxieties and sufferings brought on by the coronavirus. Lord Buddha's universal message of peace and harmony finds resonance in Bangladesh's propagation of a culture of peace at the United Nations. It also serves as a powerful catalyst to uphold the ideals of the United Nations Charter. Let us embrace his wisdom to unite in building back a peaceful world. I thank you all.
Thank you, Excellency, for the insightful statement. May I now invite His Excellency, Mr. Dian Triansia Jani, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Indonesia, to deliver his remarks.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Most venerable monks, excellencies, distinguished guests. Allow me, like others, to take this opportunity to thank my sister, His Excellency Mrs. Senuka Seneviratne, Permanent Representative of Sri Lanka, and my brother, His Excellency Mr. Vitawas Sirivivok, Permanent Representative of Thailand, for organizing this event in the new era of normalcy. I extend my warm greetings and wish all Buddhists across the world, including Indonesia, a happy and peaceful Vesak Day. The observance of Vesak Day is indeed a special moment to reflect on the Lord Buddha's timeless teaching of peace, compassion, humility, and wisdom. These values and teaching resonate more than ever as the world continues battling the deadly COVID-19 pandemic. Excellencies, the observance of Vesak Day this year may have had a different look. By no means was it less meaningful. In Indonesia, thousands of monks would usually gather at Borobudur Temple. It's the world's largest Buddhist temple that was built more than 1,200 years ago and attracts millions of visitors from around the globe each year. They gathered for meditation and will finally release glistening lanterns to the sky, which symbolize the light and enlightenment for all humankind. Enlightenment that is much needed in the world that we face today with many challenges. This year, 1.9 million Buddhists in Indonesia, together with more than 500 million Buddhists around the world, have joined in celebration of Vesak Day. They have renewed the spirit of collaboration and understanding, not only for Buddhists that observe Vesak Day, but also for all the people around the world. Excellencies, the journey of Buddha from the privilege of nobility and eventually to self-awareness and awakening invite us to see and realize it for ourselves, as no one else can do it for us. Let us renew our commitment to stand together and show patience and forgiveness, or khanti, as well as loving kindness or metta to all the people around the world as we face these turbulent and difficult times together. To quote Gautama Buddha, one moment can change a day, one day can change a life, and one life can change the world. It is up to us all to change the world into a better place. Happy Vesak Day. May all beings be happy and secure. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for an informative statement. May I now cordially invite Her Excellency, Ms. Doma Shering, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Bhutan, to deliver her remarks.
Venerable members of the Sangha, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, allow me to convey the warm greetings of His Majesty the King of Bhutan, as well as the good wishes of the royal government and the Bhutanese people, as we commemorate the International Day of Vesak at the United Nations, albeit belatedly. I thank Ambassador Senawaratne of Sri Lanka and Ambassador Shivihok of Thailand for providing the opportunity for the UN family to mark this important occasion. In Bhutan, Vesak, known as Duchen Ngazom, or confluence of 5 great deeds, was observed this year on 5th June. On that day, we revere the 3 great occurrences in the life of Siddhartha Gautama: his birth, attainment of enlightenment, and passing into Mahaparinirvana. We also believe that the date coincides as well with Lord Buddha's conception and the vanquishing of evil. The occasion marks the start of the 4th month of the Bhutanese lunar calendar, or Sagadawa, which is considered to be particularly auspicious in Bhutan, as the benefits of any meritorious act in the month is said to be multiplied 100,000 times over. The Buddha's core messages of peace, nonviolence, compassion, and tolerance remain timeless. They underscore the importance of service to humanity, while also reminding us of the interdependence of all sentient beings. These values lie at the heart of the UN Charter, which marked 75 years last week. And it also assumes even greater meaning this year as the world combats the deadly virus that has been indiscriminate and lethal in its path. The coronavirus pandemic, while first and foremost a physical health crisis, has severely impacted the mental health and well-being of entire societies and caused widespread psychological distress to individuals. It is in recognition of mental health as an integral component of national response and recovery strategies that led Bhutan, in fact, to join the cross-regional statement in support of the SG's policy brief on COVID-19 and mental health. During such turbulent times, the Buddha's teachings have provided much needed comfort to the Bhutanese people and Buddhists all over the world. We hope that the universal messages of compassion, mindfulness, and peaceful coexistence may offer inspiration as we look at means of recovery and rebuilding a post-COVID world that is peaceful, inclusive, and more resilient and harmonious than before. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for the informative reflections. I'm now pleased to invite His Excellency, Mr. Sovan K, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Cambodia, to deliver his statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Venerable monks, President of the General Assembly, Excellencies, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to Ambassador Senoka Senawarane, Permanent Representative of Sri Lanka, and Ambassador Witawas Sriwihok, Permanent Representative of Thailand, for arranging all those belated this year commemoration of Vesak. The annual Vesak Buddhist Day, one of the biggest Buddhist ceremony, was celebrated in Cambodia on 6 May every year. These holy days have special significance because on this day, all Buddhists observe Gautama Buddha's birth, enlightenment, and death. Gautama Buddha's message to mankind is that all humans must show love, kindness, and be compassionate toward one another. Pagodas and temples throughout Cambodia were decorated with lanterns and banners, and Vesak Day ceremony were live streamed in all television. This dynamic way of veneration in a homely atmosphere enhanced family unity, where family took part in observing their rituals and sharing one inner peace in much more sacred and unique togetherness. Buddha's words of compassion toward humanity supersedes national and other international differences, and is very essential to be practiced in our day-to-day life as our world is changing and becoming increasingly complex. His philosophy has influenced throughout the world for the good of mankind. Buddha's teaching remain truly relevant in the work of the United Nations. Buddhism and the United Nations share the goals of peace, dignity, harmony, prosperity, and respect of human rights for all people. The COVID-19 pandemic reminds us that all living beings are subject to illness and suffering. However, with compassion and solidarity, and by renewing our commitment to work in unity, we will be able to defeat the disease and bring recovery to all people. In conclusion, I wish you all longevity, nobility, health, and strength, the four gems of Buddhist blessing. Happy Vesak Day. I thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for those engaging remarks. I'm pleased to invite His Excellency Mr. Anupab Wongnokio, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the Lao PDR, to deliver his remarks. You have the floor.
Your Excellencies, venerable monks, I join other colleagues in expressing our sincere thanks to the permanent representatives of Sri Lanka and Thailand for hosting this year's commemoration of the Vesak Day. Our celebration not only reaffirms the United Nations' strong commitment to the principles of respect for diversity, but also promotes greater respect and tolerance, peace, and mutual understanding among all mankind, a true reflection of our core value of international community and the United Nations. As we strive to overcome this global pandemic, increasing intolerance, violence, and suffering, the Buddhist approach to solving the global crisis, especially the noble virtues of compassion, tolerance, and understanding, are more essential than ever. We firmly believe that by continue upholding our common responsibility and morality, we must take all collective actions to promote multilateralism, global solidarity, and international cooperation. In the Lao PDR, Buddhism has played a very important role in every aspect of life and culture of the people, becoming an institution for national heritage and national culture. Indeed, two of the World Heritage Sites that our country is home to have a rich Buddhist heritage, including some of the most attractive monuments and ruins in Southeast Asia. Buddhism plays a crucial role in promoting nonviolence, peaceful coexistence, morality, and mutual understanding, and respect among people of various ethnic groups, thus contributing to the maintenance of peace, social order, and the well-being of our people. I wish the celebration of this year's Vesak Day will inspire all of us to follow the wisdom and teaching in promoting peace, compassion, tolerance, and to end racial discrimination, violence, misunderstanding, and human suffering. So our world will become more peaceful based on the principle of equality and the principle of reciprocity taught by Lord Buddha. Thank you very much.
I cordially invite Mr. Hang Do Swan, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Myanmar, to deliver his statement.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Venerable Sanghas, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to join the previous speakers in thanking and congratulating our colleagues, Ambassador Vitavas and Ambassador Shanuka of Sri Lanka for their commendable leadership in organizing this special event of the International Day of Vesak. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic has wrought devastating impacts on humanity today. The pandemic also poisons our minds with fear and panic. In this extremely difficult time of global pandemic, it is fitting to revisit the teaching of Lord Buddha to overcome our anxieties, to extricate from fear, and to have inner peace in order to face the unprecedented catastrophic conditions. Lord Buddha taught us to cultivate the four immeasurables, namely metta, loving kindness, karuna, compassion, mudita, sympathetic joy or empathy, and upekkha, equanimity. The four immeasurables are the ultimate path to inner peace and to bringing peace and harmony to the world at large. Peace on our planet Earth cannot simply be achieved unless there is lasting peace within individuals. I strongly believe that cultivating the four immeasurables in our daily life will give every one of us peace of mind and spiritual strength to withstand trials and strife, and to help us overcome hatred and animosity, discrimination, and polarization. The power of the four immeasurables transcends boundaries of religion, race, or social class. It will heal the wounds, reconcile differences, and harmonize divergence. As we celebrate this auspicious day of Vesak, allow me to call upon all present here today to cultivate the four immeasurables as taught by Lord Buddha, that is, love, compassion, empathy, and equanimity, to realize our global endeavor to create a world of peaceful, to create a peaceful, harmonious, and prosperous world. Happy Vesak Day. May we all be blessed with peace, good health, and happiness. I thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for the educative statement. And I cordially invite His Excellency, Mr. Dan Din Quy, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Vietnam, to deliver his remarks.
Thank you, most venerable monks, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to extend our congratulations to all venerable monks, Buddhist Sangha and followers, and thank the permanent mission of Sri Lanka and Thailand for today's meaningful and special observance. Our today's word is an unprecedented difficult situation: conflict, climate change, and COVID-19 pandemic. These three C challenges are threatening our hard-won progress for the decades and undermining our effort toward the realization of leaving no one behind. In this precarious period, the timeless value of Buddhism assume a very significance. They waken up to sovereign reality and remind us of our shared responsibility for a world without suffering. To this end, allow me to highlight the three C solution, namely compassion, cooperation, and collective actions. The Buddha message of compassion is a powerful answer to prevent and to end violence and tension all over the world. The spirit of cooperation will guide us the way to reconcile differences through mutual trust and understanding. And the strength of collective actions will inspire and bind us together for the common good of mankind. Excellency, as a multi-religion country, the many thousand years long history of Vietnam always show the inter-religious unity and harmony. All religions coexist and strengthen each other as a unifying force to connect our people across generations and through centuries. On this auspicious occasion, let us contemplate the noble teaching of Lord Buddha to dedicate and recommit ourselves to a peaceful and harmonious world. Happy Vesak Day. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency, for the insightful remarks. May I now kindly invite His Excellency Mr. Ishikane Kimihiro, Ambassador and Permanent Representative of Japan, to deliver his statement.
Thank you. Well, venerable monks, excellencies, dear colleagues, happy Vesak Day. It is a great honor for me to speak on this occasion of the Vesak Day commemoration. I would like to thank PR of Thailand, the PR of Sri Lanka for organizing this event. Well, in Japan, Buddhist temples all over the country hold flower festivals on April the 8th to celebrate the birth of Buddha. This year also, a number of temples celebrated it virtually. The first flower festival in Japan is said to have been held in the year 606, following the introduction of Buddhism to Japan in the mid-6th century. Celebrating the Day of Vesak reminds us of the Buddhist teaching and its spirit, including tolerance, harmony, and compassion, which also illuminate our path towards resolving issues in the international community. Currently, the COVID-19 is causing a serious human security crisis, spreading across borders, striking the most vulnerable segments of society and threatening their survival, livelihood, and dignity. We also continue to see the spread of violent extremism and conflict, hate speeches, intolerance, and lack of mutual respect, all of which exacerbate people's suffering. Japan believes the United Nations can and should play an important role to alleviate such distress and bring peace of mind to people. To conclude, I would like to offer my best wishes to those celebrating the Day of Vesak and express my sincerest hope that Buddhism inspires our efforts to overcome the hardship caused by the COVID-19 with its teachings which foster peace and mutual respect in the heart of every person. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for the illuminating statement. And with that, I pass the floor to my colleague, His Excellency Vitavas, to conduct the rest of the proceedings. Please.
Thank you, Excellency, my co-chair. I now have the pleasure to invite Her Excellencies, Ms. Kira Christian Azucena, Ambassador and Charge d'Affaires of the Permanent Mission of the Philippines to the United Nations to deliver her remarks. The floor is yours, Ambassador.
Thank you, Excellency. Good morning, Mr. President, Excellencies, venerable monks. Health is the greatest gift, contentment the greatest wealth, faithfulness the best relationship. The wise words of Buddha resonate under these extraordinary circumstances. The Philippines is honored once again to join the community of nations in celebrating the 2020 International Day of Vesak to commemorate the birth, enlightenment, and passing away of Buddha. In 1999, member states adopted UN Resolution 54/115, recognizing this important event. Consistent with its national policy of fostering interfaith dialogue, the Philippine government issued Proclamation Number 24, declaring the full moon day of May of every year as Vesak Day. Introduced in the Philippines between the 7th and 13th centuries, the Buddhist faith of the Mahayana tradition is practiced today by some 2% of the country's 110 million population. We rank 20th in the world in terms of Buddhist population. For being comparatively small, the Buddhist community is among the most vibrant. It shows the easy inclusiveness of the Filipino society. For Filipinos, religious acceptance is at the core of our national character. We celebrate Vesak with the bathing Buddha to remind us to cleanse or purify ourselves through 3 acts of goodness: think good thoughts, say good words, do good deeds. Excellencies, in line with the Culture of Peace agenda of the United Nations, the Philippines has partnered with Pakistan since 2004 in co-sponsoring an annual General Assembly resolution on the promotion of interreligious and intercultural dialogue, understanding, cooperation for peace. Its premise is self-evident. Evil springs from ignorance. To know all is to forgive all. As we continue to nourish peace inside and around us in the time of COVID-19, may the teachings of Buddha continue to change our world into one of compassion, cooperation, and constancy, a world with balance, healing, and benign purpose. I thank you.
I thank Ambassador for her statement. I now invite His Excellency Mr. Mohammad Amir Khan, Ambassador and Deputy Permanent Representative of Pakistan to the United Nations to deliver his statement.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Most revered monks, excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It gives my delegation a great pleasure to participate in the celebrations of the International Day of Vesak. We are glad that despite the pandemic, we managed to get together and commemorate an important day in the spiritual and cultural calendar of millions of people. We thank the missions of Thailand and Sri Lanka for organizing this event and continuing the great traditions of celebration of Vesak at the United Nations. For centuries, the day of Vesak has remained synonymous with peace, humility, and goodwill towards others. It signifies piousness and self-enrichment and teaches us to seek wisdom despite the difficulties of this material world. Vesak also reminds us that we are one with the world, connected spiritually with all other beings. It teaches us to think about the weak, oppressed and marginalized, and the spirit that is even more needed as we fight a fast-spreading coronavirus. Significance of Vesak lies with Buddha and his universal message of peace to mankind. Excellencies, Buddhism has a rich connection with my country, where during the 1st century BC, it molded and inspired an entire civilization. Emanating from Gandhara, the Buddhist monasteries became centers of highest learning and excellence, where people from far-off places would come to study and enrich their lives. Even today, the remains of these monasteries and stupas can be seen in Taxila, Takhtbai, Sawat, and various other locations in the northwest of Pakistan. These places serve as a testimony to this remarkable Buddhist heritage. As Buddha said, if we fail to look after others when they need help, who will look after us? We need to come closer and become a source of strength for each other. This message can also be our mantra in this ongoing battle against the raging pandemic. On its part, Pakistan would always be an active partner in all noble endeavors aimed at achieving the goal of a better world, including through our joint venture with Philippines, as my colleague had just mentioned, in the shape of the resolution in the General Assembly. I thank you so much.
Thank you, Excellency, for your important statement. I now have the honor to inviting His Excellency, Mr. Park Chun-ju, Deputy Permanent Representative of Republic of Korea to the United Nations, to deliver his remark. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ambassador. Venerable monks from all over the world, including Korea, Excellencies and ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express my sincere congratulations on the day of Vesak, celebrating the birth, enlightenment, and passing of Lord Buddha. My sincere appreciation goes to Ambassador of Sri Lanka and Ambassador of Thailand for co-hosting this meaningful event. In the face of the unprecedented challenges caused by the pandemic that we are facing now, we should be reminded of Lord Buddha's timeless teachings about peace, tolerance, compassion, and respect for all life, which I think are even more relevant in this time of difficulties. These teachings can help us overcoming human sufferings by offering a beacon of hope for a better future during these difficult times. As Buddha said, control your mind or it will control you. As such, we should not let COVID-19 control our mind, I think. Furthermore, I believe that Buddhism can play a pivotal role in helping to forge solutions in relation to this pandemic. This includes not only addressing COVID-19 by cooperatively working together with public health authorities on effective responses, but also building back better in a more sustainable manner to ensure that we leave no one behind. To conclude, I would like to take this auspicious opportunity to wish for sustainable peace on the Korean Peninsula, as well as harmony, cooperation, and peace all around the world. I thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you, Excellency, for your inspiring statement. Next, I have the honor of inviting His Excellency Mr. Dmitry Polyansky, Ambassador and First Deputy Permanent Representative of the Russian Federation to the United Nations, to deliver his remarks. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Venerable monks, President of the General Assembly, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished co-chairs, I'm very happy to be with you today to commemorate a sacred day for the millions of Buddhists all over the world, International Day of Vesak. This day has for thousands of years united all the Buddhists, symbolizing hope, expectation, striving for harmony and purity of thoughts. Buddhism is one of the numerous confessions in Russia, where this holiday is observed by the Buddhist Sangha. Today, there are over 1 million Buddhists in Russia, with more than 200 Buddhist religious organizations officially registered. In this sense, Russia is a unique European country where Buddhism is a traditional religion. Buddhist culture became an integral and valuable part of our historical cultural heritage. We note that humanity has made tremendous technological advances, but it did not decrease the number of challenges and threats in the world. It is evident that technological knowledge is not enough to overcome the most complicated conflicts that the international community is faced with today. We vividly see it while combating COVID-19 pandemic today. Quite often, answers could be found in a completely different field, in everlasting moral values and ethical ideas, which are fundamental for the human life. Time shows that the profound truths of Buddha, delivered several thousand years ago, are still up to date and continue to serve as guidance for the modern humanity. In this vein, the spirit of the Vesak holiday is able to motivate the humankind to resolve peacefully many pressing issues of the present day. The Vesak day symbolizes birth, enlightenment, and the end of Buddha's life on earth. It's a kind of reminder of fluidity of life. Such celebrations as today must help us to avoid fighting and conflicts and value all the opportunities to preserve peace and harmony. We must stay mindful of this and united to follow this path. I thank you all and wish you, all of us, a happy Vesak Day.
Thank you, Excellency, for your important statement. The next speaker is supposed to be the last speaker in my list. I now invite Ms. Jo Phi Tang, Deputy Permanent Representative of Singapore to the United Nations, to deliver her remarks.
Good morning, Mr. President of the General Assembly, distinguished co-chairs, excellencies, venerable monks. I would like to extend Singapore's warmest wishes of goodwill to all our Buddhist friends on this belated commemoration of the International Day of Vesak. My delegation would also like to thank the permanent representatives of Sri Lanka and Thailand, as well as their missions, for organizing today's event. Today, we gather to honor the birth, enlightenment, and passing of Gautama Buddha. His messages of peace, harmony, tolerance, and compassion to all human beings are timeless and can be appreciated by people of all faiths. These core values have become all the more important amidst the turmoil brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. It is these values which will help us prevail over the virus. This important and sacred day in the Buddhist calendar is observed as a very important religious day in Singapore. The Buddhist community is the largest religious group in Singapore's multiracial and multi-religious population and forms more than 1/3 of our resident population. The Buddhist community has made important contributions to our nation, setting a tone of tolerance and acceptance of other faiths. The Buddhist community's numerous acts of benevolence towards the fellow Singaporeans, regardless of race, language, or religion, have also contributed and strengthened interreligious harmony. Buddhist leaders in Singapore play a key role in our interfaith network, and these contributions have enhanced community bonding, social cohesion, and interfaith understanding in Singapore. They have also enabled us to show in our small way to the world that with mutual respect and understanding, people of different religions can live side by side in trust and harmony. As we celebrate the International Day of Vesak, it is timely for us to reflect on the values espoused by Gautama Buddha. Our societies must strive for greater inclusiveness and to help the less fortunate among us so that all may benefit from the fruits of society's progress. Above all, interfaith understanding and harmony are needed now more than ever to enable us to collectively tackle the immense challenges created by the global pandemic. As we work towards combating this pandemic and its adverse effects on our societies, as well as strengthening our efforts in this decade of action to implement the 2030 Agenda, let us all be inspired by these values as we endeavor to leave no one behind. I wish you all a peaceful and blessed Vesak Day celebration. Thank you.
I thank the DPR of Singapore for her remarks. Distinguished participants, we thank all the permanent representatives, CDA and DPR, for their statement. Honorable monks, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the last agenda of the belated 2020 celebration of the International Day of Vesak. Please accept my sincere appreciation once again to all participants from the United Nations family, venerable monks, the Buddhist communities, and non-Buddhist friends for making this year's event a meaningful one despite the challenging circumstances. I hope that this event can inspire us to fulfill our duties in promoting compassion, love, tolerance, and respect in the world to overcome any challenges, including one of the biggest challenges in modern history, while being reminded that we have great allies in different parts of the society, and we have to take care of each other. Thank you again for joining us today, and hope to see you next year in the General Assembly Hall. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vidavas.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much indeed, my sister and my friends. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
President.
Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a good day.